Well, Legacy, thanks for coming on my show and
Of course. Thanks
tell
so
the
much for
audience.
having me.
You're welcome. Tell the audience some more about you.
Yeah, so I'm Kylie Montigny. I'm 16 years old from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'm a host, journalist, founder, editor, blogger, etc. And I am the host of Talk of Fame podcast, which is a podcast where I interview celebrities, athletes, actors, founders, and so much more, politicians as well. And I started that back in April 2021. And basically, I started that to basically inspire younger generations that they can be anything in the world. No one can stop them, and to bring more awareness for young girls that they matter and that they can be anything, and to be inspired by my guests to go into any career field they want, because usually on screen they don't see themselves, or they don't know what they want to do. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do with my podcast, so they can find mentors and people to look up to and try to go into a field that they want to pursue, but they don't know at the time. And like, I have an organization I founded mid last year, called Empower Girls, which is dedicated to ending gender bias and inclusion in the media. And our motto is basically, if they can, you can. It's basically, we're trying to end gender bias in all forms of media and stereotypes. And we want to make a world better for women, make representation happen on screen, but in all forms of media and sports, NASCAR driving, sports, like whatever you see in all parts of the world. And we offer events, blogs, research, presentations, and so much more. And that's kind of a little background of what I do. And yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It's so good to chat with you again.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you for coming on. And um, I read more background more about you, but you were inspired because your two cousins worked for a news station.
Yeah, yeah. My two cousins work for my local news station in northeastern Pennsylvania. And yeah, like they both graduated from the amazing college schools. And I'll always when I'll be at family events, they'll always talk about journalism and what they covered, like everything journalism, what they covered and all that stuff. And I was always kind of fascinated in what they kind of did. Like, I was like, "Ooh, that's pretty cool," but I don't know if I can do that. Like, but then like people often tell me I'll be a good journalist. Like, you say like, "Oh my God, Kylie, you'll be a good journalist since you know about sports, entertainment, politics." Like, I'm literally like educated in those type of things, since I've done like so much research and keep like I'm kind of like a movie geek and television geek. So I'm always watching something or listening to
Hmm.
podcasts. But then like it just never occurred to me and like to start a podcast. Like, I thought a podcast was like, oh, I kind of thought like, oh, I can listen to somebody that like, there's no way I can do a podcast personally. Like, I'd rather kind of listen to them than be a host of one. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like something I never kind of pictured myself doing personally. But then when the pandemic came, I just changed everything. Like, everyone was stuck at home. Like, you really can't do anything, and this like you just really couldn't do anything besides be in the house. So then that's kind of when I realized, like, I have like nothing going on. I can't go out and I can't see my friends. I can't live like life like I used to, because I used to be so busy every single day, going to sporting events, going to my brother's baseball games. Like, I was busy doing so many things. And then like when the pandemic started, it just kind of pushed everything back a little bit. And so like once the pandemic started, I don't know why, but like there's this like random thought that came to my mind, was
Hmm.
like, I should start a podcast. Like, I don't know why, but then I was like, well, I should start a podcast to kind of do something during this time to keep myself busy, and that's like to keep me let me do something while we're isolated and just have something to do. So I started that in April 2021. And like it really kind of all started like with my cousins. Like, it's just like even though I was so fascinated with things they did, it's just kind of like, oh, like if it wasn't for them and they weren't journalists, I probably wouldn't kind of be good as a journalist
Right,
as I
right.
am today. I've got or have gone far as I kind of have.
And so how do you reach out to your guests to have them come on your podcast and so on?
Yeah, so the last couple of weeks have kind of like been different. Like there's like I used to really reach out to people on social media. That's kind of like how I used to do. Like I used to do that like for every guest. But now I'm just kind of leaning towards email. Like I feel like email is kind of more of a better way to get guests personally because they're most likely to see an email than Instagram. We say go right into the request. And for email, it's much maybe going to your spam or inbox. So I kind of found that more kind of better. Like it's just like I only use email for like bigger guests personally, but then like it's just like it found like it was like a better way to get more guests. And recent once I started that, I found myself booking more guests. So I feel like now it's just more of an email, but I'm still doing kind of like the social media thing, but it's kind of leaning towards more of a email thing.
Right, email or social media is a good way to get a hold of them for sure.
Mhm.
And do you have excuse me, do you have any upcoming guests that's going to appear on your show or that's that's going to, I don't know, big names that's coming on?
So far there's really kind of no big guess. I mean, there's some there I have done some amazing interviews the last couple of days, so I'm very excited to share. But I can't say anything yet until it's out. But like, there are some amazing people coming on the podcast for sure. Not like exactly big names, but I would say there's still pretty amazing guests come on, even though they're not as like A-list
Mhm.
type of people, you know.
So do you see your show more on a radio instead of on TV or like a more radio podcast person or
Like I think I just kind of see it as it is for now, but maybe in the future I might kind of switch it a bit. But for now, it's just kind of gonna be like the same way as
I've
how.
noticed you're doing your show on Instagram as well.
Yeah, like I converted to doing an Instagram series as well. So like I would rather like I do like a one shot Instagram series and just talk with women and stuff like that, then go over to my podcast and just talk with people in different forms of society, not necessarily women but men as well.
Hmm. And when you do politics, do you do both parties or just one party or do you what do you if you
For politics, it's just like one specific forum. Like I basically follow both parties. I follow both. I watch the news every single day. I was just watching Fox News before I joined, but then like I really like follow everything, like both parties or any party that exists. I follow everything, but there's really no specific party I kind of like have a hand on. You know, I really
Mhm.
kind of look at both the same way and get educated on both.
Right, same here. That's a good point. And you said it real quick, the weather there. You said it was snowing.
Yeah, like it was snowing late last night to early this morning, and I look outside right now and the snow is basically 90% gone already.
That's good. How much
So
did
I'm
it
like
snow?
very happy about that. So
How much did it snow?
a couple inches. It did like 5 inches, I believe.
Hmm.
So it wasn't that much, but it's
Wow.
at least there's snow on the ground. That's
It's good. Now you said you're also you're doing this podcast because to help people, excuse me, with anxiety problems. Is that correct?
yeah, yeah.
Um, can you talk more about your anxiety?
Yeah, so I have dealt with anxiety since I was basically born. Like anxiety has kind of been big part of my life. My family has suffered with anxiety, my mom, my sister. Like everyone basically suffers anxiety in different ways. Yeah, so like when I suffered with anxiety, it basically took over my whole personality when I was young. And as I kind of got older, I don't like it usually doesn't affect me now. Like I now I'm like know how to control it. It doesn't affect my personality anymore. But then like when I was young, I like would get scared to do things. Like if I want to do sports, that's as an example, like I it would not let me do sports because I used to be so scared to do sports or whatever I wanted to do. And basically it just took over my whole childhood because I really didn't really have childhood because with my anxiety, it wouldn't let
Hmm.
me do things. Like I was always around my parents, and I was always like kind of hogging them, be like, I'm not going anywhere. I want to be with you two. Like this is like I don't want to go anywhere. But like it really like prevented me to go in social situations when I was a really kid. Like it's just like if I wanted to do things, it really forbidden me to live a life without being scared. And I was also a very shy kid. So it's always like I was really didn't talk to anyone. I was always talking to people that was kind of by my wing, like family, close friends. But now like I'm like all good. Like it's just like um anxiety still affects me, even though I'm 16 years old, but not as bad as I kind of like it was when I was a little kid. But then, like, anxiety is still like a big part of everyone's lives, especially during the pandemic. Like, a lot of people suffer with anxiety and
Hmm.
depression as well. I suffered with depression as well. So, that's kind of something I like to talk about. Like, if it was me a couple years ago, I wouldn't be open about it. Like, I would be kind of like ashamed for say about it, but now I'm like kind of like open to talk about it because I know like a lot of people are kind of feeling the same way as well as I did when I was really young.
And your podcast, you talk a lot about anxiety, about depression, and it's very important to talk about it because a lot of people need to hear it, you know. And so also on you, did you have any siblings as well, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I have two brothers and one sister, and my sister suffered with bad anxiety as well. So
So they
it's
all knew that you were going through the
yeah,
anxiety
yeah.
and depression. And did they did your how did your parents find out that you grew up with anxiety and depression?
Well, like they basically knew once I was born that I was gonna be anxiety. Like I had very bad anxiety. And like they kind of like thought it was like when I was born that I had autism. Like they thought like, oh, that's probably why she's not speaking much, but I didn't have autism. I it was like anxiety, shyness, it kind of caused me to not really speak. As as now I love to talk. Like and now it's like I have there's a big difference between me, my 16-year-old self, and like my 4-year-old self. But like basically like since I was a little kid, my parents knew that I had anxiety. Like I would always have my siblings or my parents with me to do everything. Like I was scared to do a bunch of things without having someone with me. Like I was always be like, Mom, Dad, can you help? Like, can you stay with me or play basketball with me? Like when I played basketball for a couple of days, like it didn't last long. But like when I had to do basketball, I literally would have to ask my dad to be a ref because I
Hmm.
didn't want to be on the court alone. And that's kind of like an example of kind of how I was because like I was like I'm not going out there if my parent or my siblings out there with me. And like they kind of like were worried about it because they're like, this kid shouldn't have bad anxiety when she's young. Like I didn't know what anxiety was when I was a kid. Like it was like I something was wrong with me that something that kind of like took over, like it's just like it's like kind of very bad. But they like try to give me some help, which really helped me a lot. But like it's just like even if I seek help and my parents try my best, like to help me, like it's just anxiety is not gonna end.
Right. Well, I've never experienced anxiety. And depression, yes, but anxiety, no. And I know depression and anxiety are different. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just I wish that we talk more about mental health in this.
Mm-hmm.
It is
Yeah, exactly. I so agree
very.
with that because like mental health is so important. And like with the pandemic, it really kind of showed more of a bigger thing with mental health. Like I just saw a movie called The Sun with Hugh Jackman and Lauren Dern. And Hugh Jackman, as most people know, is my favorite actor. And so like I love Laura Dern as well. And I met Hugh Jackman a million times. Like he's the sweetest person. And I've seen every Hugh Jackman movie. Like it's just like I'm his number one fan. As you probably see, if people are watching it, I have his like poster behind me. But like I like when in the movie The Sun came out uh in mid-January. I forget what day it came out, but it was in theaters. I'm not sure if it's still in theaters now, but I think it's coming to Amazon Prime. But they're really just movies about mental health. Like it's like I went to see it in theaters with my mother the day it came out, and the movie really focuses on Laura Dern and Hugh Jackman's son, dealing with mental health, depression, and wanting to
Hmm.
kind of end his life. That's kind of like the backstory of it. Is that like his son is dealing with depression, and Hugh Jackman and Laura Dern are trying to figure out like what's going on and like what can they do to help. And like once I saw that movie, I was sobbing. I was a mess. Like I knew coming into that movie that I was going to be a mess. Like I was going to be crying. I was like, at the end of the movie, I was downpouring with like tears. It was so bad because like with that movie, it kind of really connected with me on that, like on mental health and what I was going through.
Hmm.
To see his son, like to see like his son kind of felt like I was in that position. Like in like with seeing that movie, it really connected with me because I was going through that as well. And as a teenager, you are mostly going through more mental health than others, you know? Like as a teenager, it's very hard for me. Like I suffered a lot as a teenager and I'm only 16 years old. You know what I mean? Like for that movie, it's just like a big open about mental health. Like it's just like we need more people to talk about mental health
Hmm.
because like there's hardly any movies or anyone talking about this. Like this is such a big thing and no one if no one sees anyone talk about mental health, no one's gonna talk about it. And to see that movie really opened my eyes as a person and to really be there for one another even though like you people seem to be happy but they're not inside. Like I have pretended to be happy but on the inside I'm miserable and
Hmm.
depressed. But then like it's like you really should be talking about how you feel because if you don't talk about how you feel you're going to get worse. And that's something I kind of suffer with is that like I really don't like to put the focus on myself. So it's like I would rather talk to my parents or my close friends or family about what's going on than be suffering every single day and that my mental health get worse if I don't talk about it. And I recommend like everyone going seeing the sun. Like I know like if I know everyone be impacted as much as I did. Like if you really kind of want to learn more about mental health or see someone that's experiencing mental health, or you really want to see like, oh, like what is it like to suffer with mental health, or kind of like how do I become a better parent or a sibling to a person that suffers with depression? That's a movie to see, trust me. It would definitely impact you as a person, trust me. It really did like impact me as a person when I saw that movie.
Right. And when did that movie come out?
It came out last month.
Okay, yes, definitely. I need to check it out myself. I have not seen it yet, so I can't give any reviews of the film. Um,
Yeah, the movie is really good. Like I like you definitely had to bring tissues because I like it's so sad, you know.
I've
Like you
seen
definitely had to bring tissues.
I've seen previews, but I have heard about it. So, I know you're a big Hugh Jackson fan, and
Mhm.
um, you go meet him in person in New York, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how many do you do that? How many times do you do that? Do like you know his? I know it's kind of weird to say this, but you know his schedule. It seems like.
Mostly like I follow his fan page and stuff like that, but that's like the reason why I go to New York so often is like people probably think like, oh my gosh, like why are you going to New York to meet you done many times? Like, oh my God, you're kind of like a stalker. But then like he has Broadway show. Like I've been a Hugh Jackman fan for years. And he did a Broadway show which ended last month on the 15th. And that's why I went to New York so much is that like I would go see his like Broadway show and not every time I go, but I would see Hugh at the stage door and be like, hey, how's it going? But like when I have went there so many times that like he literally recognized me every single time. Like he'll be like, hey Kylie, how are you? How's it been? I haven't seen you in a long time. Like after like a couple of times, me and him just became good friends. And I like on the last day of the show, I was balling. That day was rough. I like for the total, I went to like 7 shows that time of his Broadway show, and I became obsessed with it the first time I saw it. But then like the last day I was bawling because I was like, I just can't be happening. Like I can't really see Hugh anymore. Like what am I gonna do with my life? Like even though I make a living off podcasting, my work, like I'd rather go see Hugh and have fun. Like that's my kind of like what I do on my free time is go to New York and to see Hugh. And like I was a mess and I was crying. Like it was like a miserable day. I mean, it was a good day, don't get me wrong, but I was miserable on the inside. But like that day, like he really gave me a hug and everything. Like yeah, and that made me even more a mess. But then like even though it's a bad ending and something like you just need to be grateful that it happened. And like I know like even though like I've been a fan of Hugh for
Hmm.
years and stuff like that, I know Hugh Jackman is literally an A-lister and I'm literally like down here. But like it's just like if you get to know someone that well and you got to do something so often, like it's just like you need to adjust to kind of make sure that like okay, well this is gone, what am I going to do with my life right now, even though like it was I'm already living my life. You need to learn like okay, well I can't do that anymore, so what am I going to do right now?
Right. Well, I noticed you went to go see his show a lot. I mean, on your Instagram, there's a lot of pictures of you and Hugh Jackson.
Yeah, my basically half my feed is Hugh Jackman. Honestly, just FYI, if everyone, if someone checks out my Instagram, there's a lot of Hugh photos, FYI, or podcasts or something.
Right. You go, take a picture with him and selfie and you ask him questions. He answers your questions. So, and then of course his show ended on Broadway.
Mm.
Maybe he'll be back one day.
Yeah, like he usually does like Broadway shows like every 5 years, I think. So he hopefully be back on Broadway sooner or later. But I know he's gonna be filming Deadpool 3 with Ryan Reynolds in May. So I'm very excited for that.
Right. I heard about that in May. That's gonna be a big. Are you a big Marvel fan?
Um, Not really, honestly. Like I only watch it because I well, huge movies or some movies like Spider-Man or something. I mean, I'm not a huge Marvel fan, but I'll watch it. You know what I mean? Like I'll watch He movies, Spider-Man, or whatever comes out, but I wouldn't kind of consider myself a big kind of Marvel fan.
Hmm. And also, you're a big sports person. And
Hmm.
so, what's your favorite NBA team and basketball? And, I mean, well, of course, I said NBA, but football and so on.
Yeah, so I came from a sports family, so sports is basically kind of like my full identity. Yeah, so like my favorite NBA team is the Lakers. So, my favorite MLB team is the Dodgers. I can tell by the background, I'm a big Dodger fan. And I also like the Phillies. I'm from Pennsylvania, so of course I have to root for a PA team. I'm a Seahawks fan for NFL. For NHL, I like the Penguins, but I'm not like that's basically who I like. I like so many teams that I watch, but those are kind of like my main ones and stuff like that. And my
Hmm.
favorite college team is Penn State.
Well, wow, you're like you have most West Coast teams. You need to move out to the West.
I know. Like there's so many West Coast teams, but my dad's like my parents are trying to convince me to become a mainly Phillies fan. But I'm like, nah, I'm good with LA. But like LA is my favorite city, so it's like I kind of have an excuse to go there.
Right. Have you been to Los Angeles?
Yeah, I've been there a couple times, but I haven't been there in years though, since before the pandemic. Last time I was like in January 2020, like pre-pandemic. So it's been a couple of years, but I hope to go back soon.
Yeah, Los Angeles is amazing.
Well, I love it so much. Like I just want to move out there. Like that's what I'm like planning on doing is kind of move out to LA and pursue journalism and stuff like that.
Yeah, LA is amazing. It's beautiful. Um, that's the place to be. A lot of people.
Mhm. Yeah, and I have so many people I know down there, so it's like I rather have live down there, maybe go to college down there at UCLA, USC, Berkeley, or somewhere that kind of leads me there. But like, and plus I know so many people, so it's like I kind of have an excuse to go down there. And plus my favorite teams are down there, so it's kind of like let's go down, let's move, like let's go
Mhm.
down to LA. But Yeah, hopefully, like in sometime maybe this year, next couple of years, I head back down and spend
It's
some
amazing.
time.
And then no, hopefully you do. And then of course you said your podcast is on Spotify, Apple,
Mhm.
and Pandora.
Um, it might be on Pandora. I can't. I honestly keep forgetting if it's on like major platforms. Honestly, I know it's on Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. But I'm not sure about Pandora. You reminded me actually. I have to check. But there's a possibility it's on Pandora, so I have to make sure.
And then how can people find you? Just type in your name.
Yeah, so you can find me on social media on all platforms at official Kylie Martini.
And then of course you have your own a website blog.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah, so you can find like my website in the link in my bio on Instagram, and I just started a blog, and I basically cover entertainment, politics, like basically everything I cover. I just posted a blog post yesterday on my Empowered Girls organization's website and my personal website, and there's a new website coming for Empowered Girls, so that's very exciting. Stay tuned for that. But yeah, there's gonna be so many blog posts. So it's basically weekly. I'm kind of a little behind on posting blog posts and stuff. My schedule is kind of forbid me to kind of do keep it up as much as I want to, but I'm trying to do it weekly as much a couple times a week or once a week. So yeah, just stay tuned for every blog post. It's really
and you
exciting.
said you do your show twice a week, you said, or once a week?
Yeah, I do the blog post once a week or as many times as I can.
Wow. Again, congratulations on your platforms.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And of course, and where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh, that's a good question. I kind of see myself going to college. I see myself basically going to college and studying journalism, communications. I don't know where I'm go to college yet, but I do might see myself going out of state, out of Pennsylvania, and basically studying communications and hopefully do more interviews and maybe go on red carpets and stuff, interviewing big stars. But like things don't always go as what you plan, but that's kind of what I hope in the next couple of years. But I'm definitely going to college next couple of years out of state, so studying
So is
journalism.
there a particular college that you're looking at?
Like I think so far, like currently it's George Washington University in DC. But I kind of want to go leaning towards California schools. But so far, like right now, it's probably George Washington University or like Syracuse or Penn State.
Okay. Well, hopefully you get to go to college in California.
Yeah, my parents were like forbidding me to go to California for college, but hey, I'm not a good listener, so who knows?
So why do they don't want you to go out there?
Because like the money, the environments and stuff, like they just kind of like because of tuition fee, it's like kind of a little much. So I'm thinking to myself like I know ways to get money like scholarships and stuff like that. So I'll figure it out. I don't care if I have to literally work 5 jobs to go to college in California. I'm going to California sometime. You don't know if I'm going there for college or after college, but I'm going there sometime.
Right, right. I totally understand. It is kind of expensive out in California.
Yeah, like it's very expensive, or like New York City. Like I love New York City so much. I'm thinking about going to college there as well or moving there. But the problem is like living in New York City or Los Angeles is so expensive. It's like it costs more to live there than where I live now in Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow. In New York.
Hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it costs way more to live in a city than where I live now.
Right. New York is expensive. I think New York
Mhm.
is more expensive than LA though.
Yeah. Yeah. It's much closer though. I can like it's only like a 2 hour drive to go to New York City, so which is not bad. Even though if I go to California, it's like a 5 hour plane ride. So it's much
Right.
closer and just kind of like spend more time there since it's so close.
And it's a longer drive to California, for instance.
Yeah, yeah. Or Florida. I love Florida as well. So it's like an 18-hour drive to Florida. So it's like kind of like I'd rather be in warm weather than kind of live in Pennsylvania with four seasons.
Right. like I said, I'm a warm weather person, so like it's like 70 degrees and or 80 degrees, and you don't have to worry about winter, don't have to worry about snow, and like I'm a warm weather guy. So
Yeah, like I'm like a like person that likes warm and cold at the same time. Like I'm like directly in the middle. But then like with Pennsylvania, the weather changes every single day. Like one day it's 60 degrees, sunny. The next day 20 degrees, cloudy, snowing. Like it changes. Like that's kind of like how it is.
yeah, so Pennsylvania is like a bipolar state.
Yeah, yeah. That's probably what I put it.
Well, I appreciate you, like I said, coming on my show, and thank you for being on here. And, I'd love to talk about what you're doing, and it's amazing, it's powerful, and your podcast, and, you're changing the world with your mental health and talking about anxiety and empowering girls. Your shows, you're doing great what you're doing.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate your support and everything. And I'd love to come back on soon. And yeah, thank you
Yeah,
so much
you're
for
always
your
welcome to
support.
come back on my show. So please come back and we'll talk more about your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to reach out whenever you want to have me back on, and I'll love to join you sometime soon.
Yeah, thank you, and you have a good day.
You too, Cindy, as well. Have a good one.